Is a Serie A club about to get relegated before the season's even started? Is Lionel Messi still going to be at Barcelona this year? And is Derby about to be playing in League One in the 2021-22 season? All that is coming up today on The Rounds. But I see it better now, cause everything you do only says you gotta figure it out. What's up guys, George Lyons here and welcome back to Soccernomics, more specifically The Rounds. This is a brand new series that we're launching on the channel to help give you updates on what's going on in the footballing world and other important things that you might have missed throughout the week. Before we kick off today's episode, just want to ask you guys to hit that subscribe button to help support this channel and also make sure that you guys can stay up to date with everything that we upload. Alright, let's get into it. So what's been going on in the Serie A? Well, it's a bit of a weird one, this one. To make a bit of sense of it, at the moment, the Italian Football Federation has just recently rejected a bid from a blind trust to buy a newly promoted Salernitana. Why, I hear you asking? Before we get into that, I just want to explain what a blind trust is. So a blind trust is essentially a trust established by the owner, otherwise known as the truster, giving another party, known as the trustee, full control of the trust. The trustee has full discretion over the assets and investments while being charged with managing assets and any income generated in the trust. The truster can terminate the trust, but otherwise exercises no control over the actions taken within the trust and receives no reports from the trustees while the blind trust is in its force. Blind trusts are often established in situations where individuals want to avoid conflicts of interest between their employment and investments. And I know what you're saying. How can there be possibly any conflicts of interest for an owner of a football club? Now, the current owner of Salernitana, I believe his name is Claudio Lotito. I've probably butchered that. Sorry if anyone from Italy watching. Lotito's owned the club for a long time now, like decades. Of course, he doesn't want to let go of the club. The only thing is, he happens to also own Lazio, who is also a Serie A club as well. So, of course, you can see there's a bit of a conflict of interest here. You can't really own two football clubs in the same division. Lazio are, of course, one of the biggest teams in Italy. They have been in title races in recent times. And should Salernitana play against Lazio when it comes to a title-deciding game that includes Lazio, of course, there is some subject to match fixing. So that is a conflict of interest, and that is why the Italian Football Federation, or otherwise known as the FIGC, has rejected this proposal. Now, of course, Lotito is not very happy about this. Of course, the blind trust really doesn't make much sense. All that means is that Lotito doesn't want to get rid of the club, and he is setting up a blind trust where he is the truster and someone else is running it for him. But apparently, the Italian Football Federations don't believe that he's going to be completely out of the picture. You also can't sell the club to a family member within within four generations, so you can't send it to like your third cousin or something like that, which in Italy, I think everyone is third cousins. So, yeah, that's going to be tough. Oh, man. Anyway, so the Italian Football Federation has given Lotito up until the 3rd of July to make up his mind and sort out these problems. And yes, you heard that right, the 3rd of July. So you're probably watching this right now because this is being filmed on the 2nd of July, probably going to be uploaded on the 3rd of July. So pretty much today, or if you're watching at a later date, has already happened. So you may as well just have a look and see what's happened. I might do a follow-up video on this, see what's actually happened to Salernitana, because Salernitana may not be a Serie A club after all. Of course, if they can't sell the club in time or find a suitable owner, then yeah, Salernitana cannot be in the Serie A, which means that Benevento, who were the best placed team who got relegated last season, will be playing in the Serie A again. Yeah, so this is a bit unfair on Salernitana fans. Of course, they have earned the right to be playing in the Serie A. It's the whole point of merit. That's the whole beauty of having a relegation and promotion. But of course, there are rules, and conflict of interest is very much so one of them. So yeah, that is why Salernitana may not be playing the Serie A this season after all. Right, Lionel Messi's contract is officially over, which means he's a free agent. And yes, I know, guys, the long wait has been over. He's officially signing for Rotherham United. We finally got our man. Now, but on a serious note, of course, Lionel Messi is a free agent, which means he can talk to whoever he wants. But he is currently in advanced talks with FC Barcelona to extend his contract. It is reported that he's happy there, especially now that Josep Bartomeu, the former president, is no longer there. Of course, they were the two that were not getting along. And Joan Laporta has reported that he really wants Lionel Messi to stay. The only unfortunate thing with Barcelona that may get in the way is, of course, their financial issues. Barcelona are in tons of debt, like billion, more than $1 billion, I believe, which means that Lionel Messi will have to obviously decrease his wage bill. Joan Laporta has mentioned that, and I believe that is the whole reason why they're in advanced talks right now, but you can read that all over the place. I'm sure you've heard about Lionel Messi not having his contract. I believe that he won't be leaving Barcelona this season. Don't know why. I don't think he will leave. The only thing I can see him doing is maybe going back to Argentina, but he's too good. He's too good to go back, so I can't see him leaving. All right, so Derby County. This is really weird. It's weird that two football clubs in completely different countries could both be relegated after the season's finished. Basically, what's going on with Derby County, this one is less likely to happen, but the EFL has recently released their schedules for the fixtures, and yeah, Derby County has an exchangeable fixture with Wycombe Wanderers, who of course got relegated from the Championship last season. They were the better placed team out of the three that got relegated. Unfortunately, Rotherham was one of them as well. Oh, still hurts. 3 minutes from safety. Anyway, I say recently, they have, over the past couple of years now, notoriously been in the bad books of the EFL. Why is that? Well, it mainly comes down to financial fair play. Essentially, Derby County have breached a number of, well, actually not breached, a number of financial fair play rules, or FFP. Financial fair play means that you have to abide by or live within your means as a football club. You cannot invest more than what the club is essentially making as a profit. It's just not a sustainable way of running a club. I've actually done a video on this. If you want to have a look back, I'll put a link in somewhere up here so you can see what financial fair play is. It's a bit of a long story, so I won't explain what it is. Essentially, a club can't spend without its means unless it can create those profits in that amount of time. It's like a rolling sort of amortization. Amortization is not the word. Anyway, so Derby County owner Mel Morris has pretty much recognised a couple of loopholes that the club could take advantage of when it comes to financial fair play, recognising profits and minimising costs. One of which is being caught up on is the sale of the club stadium, Pride Park. So essentially, you're allowed to sell a tangible asset, and whatever profits are made from that, you can recognise on the income statement of the club, and that increases the profits of the club, which means that you can spend more on players and so on. Essentially, what Mel Morris has done at Derby County is sold the club stadium, Pride Park, to a company that he owns. Which is actually genius. Of course, if he can do that, why not? I mean, it is kind of wrong. Essentially, he's been called out for overvaluing what the stadium is worth so that they could cover their profits to cover their losses. That is so they can continue covering the financial fair play rules. This hasn't actually gone ahead though, so there were allegations about it, but they have been pushed back. The other thing that Derby County has been doing is messing around with the books. What I mean by this is there are player amortization costs. What this does is it recognises how much a player costs over a certain amount of time that the player is at the club. There are a number of ways of doing it, but the widely accepted way in football is the straight line amortization method, which recognises and splits the cost of a player, the fee that they paid for the player, and of course the wages as well over the length of the contract, and splits it evenly. So if you pay £25 million for a footballer with a 5-year contract, that's £5 million a year that you recognise on the books. That's just a way that clubs can easily manage their costs and make sure that they're balancing out and stay in line with the financial fair play rules. What Derby County have recently done is something completely different. What they've said is, what is it called? What Derby County used instead was the expected recoverable values method, where the majority of the player's fee is actually not recognised until the last year of the contract. This may sound like it doesn't really matter, but it really does in an accounting sense, especially when it comes to staying in control of your costs. Of course, costs are an important part of financial fair play. If you can manipulate your costs so that you can recognize more costs and know what your costs are going to be at a certain amount of time, you can time your purchases and buys of players at a certain period of time. And Derby County have been pulled up on this by the EFL, but of course they haven't been found guilty of anything. Of course, that it's not really a wrong way of doing things. It's just slightly unfair advantage on how financial fair play works. What has actually happened, though, is, of course, these are some sort of disciplinary issues that the EFL are having with Derby County. They have actually fined Derby County £100,000, which doesn't sound like very much, but for a club who has been, of course, going through COVID, so there's been a massive hit to revenues, a club that's obviously trying to find ways to manipulate costs and further inflate profits, yes, that is actually quite a lot of money. Actually, the EFL would like to deduct points from Derby County from last season, which means any more than 1 point deducted means that they would have essentially been relegated last season, and that's why Wycombe Wanderers could stay in the league. Now, this is actually really unlikely. It's not looking like there's going to be a points deduction, especially not for last season. Last season's already finished. If there's going to be a points deduction, it'll be next season or the season coming up, if there is any at all. But it doesn't seem to be like there is a materialization of what's going on, unless Derby, of course, breach any more rules and are caught out for it. But yeah, pretty much that's all I've really got for you at the moment, guys. Of course, I could have talked about the brand new managers that are entering the Premier League and other leagues as well. There has been a massive roundabout of Premier League managers, but there's so many things changing at the moment. So I may as well just leave that for another episode, perhaps. But if you did like this episode, please hit that like button. Also, if you like our channel and you're new to watching, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate your support and share your comments if you want to give us some feedback. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the rounds again very soon.
Says you gotta figure it out. Believing that we're over is a must, cause I can't change the past and the future isn't written out. So I'll stay familiar with the feeling of being a stranger to what we lost. I'll keep my guard down and hope it comes back around, cause I still just feel like